What are the characteristics of a top data science aspirant versus people who are aspirants who are not able to become successful in data science? Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Manav. I'm the Chief Data Science Mentor. This is episode 21st of Data Science and AI Weekly. If you have not subscribed to our channel, just subscribe to it immediately so that you receive notifications regarding the next podcast that is going to be uploaded. And this series is basically a conversation that we have with some of our top faculty, and a series in which I give you tips, inputs and advice to become successful in data science and AI world. So we have with us, like we have had for the last two episodes, one of our star faculty, Deepesh. And Deepesh, welcome back to this episode. Again, we have a lot of interesting questions for you for this episode.
Gladly. I love answering questions. All the students who have already been in my class know I love answering questions. Questions are the only way a faculty learns. So we welcome questions left, right, and center. So is this podcast. I'm loving answering questions.
Yeah. So let's talk about Deepesh, since you have mentored and trained now hundreds of students at INSEAD. Let's talk about what are some of the characteristics that you see between students, and when by students we mean working professionals here, right? Because all of this, 100% of the audience that we get are working professionals, but let's call them students. Between students who become successful in your program or in the course that you are undertaking, and what characteristics these students display that you know that they are going to be what we call at INSEAD data leaders of tomorrow. They are going to be successful in data science, versus students who you think that display characteristics who might not, which you know that this will not take them in the direction that you think that will make them successful in this space.
So let me break this question into two parts. First, let me describe what are the characteristics which I actually observe to come up to this conclusion. Second is how those can be achieved, those characteristics can be achieved.
Absolutely.
So part number one, let's talk about the characteristics. The characteristics which tells me the most that a student will be successful up in his career in data science is the question which he asks. So the questions is the reflection of how much thinking the person has done. So there are two standing instructions whenever we attend machine learning sessions. And if we follow these instructions, these are the two solutions to have those insightful questions. So if we ask those right questions, we actually display that we are interested, and hence the chances that we will excel in data science is high. And these are the two standing instructions. One, we must always practice. Two things. We should practice the theory. We should repeat whatever is taught in the class. Second, we should practice the code. We should spend some time practicing the code back in an offline environment where there is nobody to help us, so that if a problem arises, we will at least try and hunt the solutions of those problems. So this is what will eventually improve our understanding of the algorithm and help us, go forward. So the two things that we should always do is one, practice, and the second one is we should always think about where to apply this particular algorithm in our own domain. So until we find a problem that can be solved using this algorithm, we'll not be able to, understand the algorithm in its completeness. So these are the two things we should do: practice and think of a problem statement.
Right. So now when we talk about thinking about a problem statement, can you talk a lot about that? So do you mean that I should be thinking about a problem statement from my day-to-day life, and let's say I am doing my routine chores, or I'm going somewhere, I'm thinking about how data science can be applied? Is that what you mean? Or do you mean that when the industry that I'm working with, whether it is BFSI, telecom, etc., I look for use cases and I discuss with possibly leaders in my company that how data science can actually be used to solve problems? So help me understand that.
All right. So you give me two options. One is to think about structured problems from the business. Second is to think of any personal errand that we are learning, and daily life. And from the daily life we can pick up problems. So let me take an example from both. So let's say we are studying in a classroom session in predicting how a person will default. We took this example before. It's basic business sense, we don't want to give money to somebody who will probably default.
So you're talking about financial services.
Financial services,
Yes.
right? So
and you're talking about credit card defaults?
Credit card defaults, loan defaults, no matter, the structure will be same. Will a person default or not is the question we are asking, right? So let's generalize this thing once. Basically, we are trying to predict a 1 or a 0. Will a person default? 1. Will a person not default? 0. This 1 and 0 technique can be applied anywhere. Will I convert this customer with my sales pitch? 1. Will I not convert this customer? 0.
Fantastic.
Is a transaction fraud? 1. Is the transaction okay? 0. So this 1-0 approach can be done in any industry. So the objective of machine learning.
And similarly, just to add to that, in churn also, when we do churn analytics, will this customer churn? 1. Or will the customer not churn? 0. Yeah.
So this 1-0, if we can think of a problem of 1-0 in our own business, then algorithm that we have learned in the class, no matter what the example we took in the class, we will be able to apply this in our own domain. So this was the example from understanding business perspective of the problem statement. Second example is from our own personal lives. So let me take this example. My grandmother was not very well, and a nurse used to come and measure her blood pressure every morning and every evening. And that blood pressure was recorded in the register for months at end. So I had a very practical, very real data set of time series. So this is what we call time series, in which a data changes over time and we analyze how it is changing. So example, stock market. So I had a real time series data and I plotted that up. So a time series usually look like zig and zag. Everyone of us has seen how a stock market goes up or down on any news channel. So we can actually from that time series, we were able to see if there is a peak in blood pressure. So that day she was not very well. If there is a constant down in time series, that was the time all my sisters were visiting. So the blood pressure actually told what was happening in their life. So data is all around us. We can think about the data everywhere. And this is what I suggest to do. Think of data science not as a subject, but as the way we live, as the way we analyze.
So this was episode 21st of Data Science and AI Weekly. My name is Manav. I'm in conversation with Deepesh. This is the third episode that we are doing with him, and he has already shared tons of insights. If this was the first episode that you have been listening to, just tune in to the playlist that the link is in there in the description, and we'll be back with the last episode in this series with Deepesh in episode 22. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to this podcast. This is Data Science and AI Weekly episode number 21st. My name is Manav and I'm signing off. Thank you very much.